we have finally made it out of the detour, and we are on our way to the Royal Rumble. So let's talk about tonight's show, the first big show of 2026. My name is Daniel Strunk. Welcome back to QuickTime Reactions, and welcome to my review of tonight's Saturday night's main event, which took place in Montreal, Canada. We open with Stephanie McMahon in the Okerlund position. Normally she would be joined by one Joe Tessitore, but of course, because of all the winter storms that are going on, that is kind of an impossibility. So it is just her in the Okerlund position. I thought she did a pretty good job holding down the fort tonight. Of course, we get the typical opening, pyro and all that stuff, running down the matches on the card. And the first match up on the card is a doozy. Cody Rhodes versus jacobfatu. Jacob makes his entrance and Cody makes his entrance. And on the second whoa moment of Cody up on the turnbuckles, Fatu initiates a attack on Mr. Cody Rhodes. The bell's not rung yet. And these two brawl crazy. They go up the aisle, back down the aisle, in the ring, out the ring, around the floor spectators, up the stairs, into the concourse area, dealing with, agents and security guards left, right, and center, hitting basically anything that moves, trying to get to each other, make their way back into the arena, back down the stairs, towards the tech area, where they shove one security guard into a whole group of security guards. And just right when they are going back to fight each other, Drew McIntyre shows up, shoves Fatu through a stack of tables, and powerbombs Cody into another stack of tables. And Drew is the one that is standing tall. When he makes his way back, Kathy Kelly makes his way over, asks for an explanation, and Drew's basically saying, yeah, this is a message. Anyone that's going to step up and challenge me for this championship has got to deal with that. So I pray to whoever, wins that four-way later on tonight, you're going to be in some trouble when we get to Saudi Arabia. So for my first match, nothing, because there wasn't really a match to begin with. I think this was probably the smartest decision to do with a match like this, because you don't really want to beat guys that are, presumably Cody's already declared himself for the Rumble, and my assumption is Fatu is going to be in the Rumble. So yeah, it makes sense why they would do it like this, but at the same time, it's like, I think Cody can handle a loss or two here and there if it means like building up a new star in Fatu, but I'm not in control of the pencil, so but that's just my opinion about it anyway. We move on to our first actual match on the card. Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez of the Judgment Day challenge Rhea Ripley and iyosky for the women's tag titles. This was a pretty good match. Lots of good back and forth. Of course, the baby faces start out hot, but the heels slowly but surely eke out the advantage. Working over Io for quite a while. Good old school heel stuff of cutting the baby faces off for making the tag. But of course, Rhea comes in with the tag while Liv is the legal participant for her team, showing signs of the rivalry that they had way back when. But that is briefly snuffed out when Roxanne comes back into the equation. Heels have the upper hand once again. There's a spot in this match where this is after Io gets the hot tag from Rhea, and running wild, and then, of course, the heels have the big cutoff. Roxanne pops rocks onto Io, and the ref counts 1, 2, and it is clear that Rhea is supposed to, go in and break it up, but doesn't quite happen, so Io does have to kick out of Roxanne's finish, which is they recovered quickly from that. But again, good back and forth stuff. We get towards the tail end of the matchup. Rhea hits Riptide onto Roxanne. Io hits her over the moonsault. Ref goes down 1, 2, and as Rhea is scanning the ring to see if Liv's going to come in and try to break up the pin, Raquel Rodriguez comes in from behind, and as she pulls Rhea out under the ring, Rhea bumps the ref, and so he doesn't see any of it. Raquel cleans house against Rhea and Io until Stephanie Vaquer, who is now without the assist of the boot, she takes care of Rodriguez, and they fight their way to the back. Liv gets tagged in. She hits Oblivion on Io, but doesn't notice that Rhea made the tag to Io before hitting her finisher. Rhea with a quick roundhouse into a Riptide to pin Liv and for her team to retain the women's tag titles. 1-0 for me in my predictions. Moving on to what could potentially be AJ Styles' last match in North America against Mr. Shinsuke Nakamura. These two had a pretty good back and forth. I really liked the story that they had in this match where Shinsuke was basically trying to, awaken the fierce fighter competitor in AJ. And AJ just basically worked over Shinsuke's leg. And he even said during the match, like, this is what I'm going to do to you at the Rumble, Gunther, when AJ had Shinsuke in the calf crusher. Lots of really good back and forth between the two of them in this matchup. If I were to rank their matches, I would say that this is probably their best match they had in WWE. I still think that their match at Wrestle Kingdom 10 is the best one that they've had. But this is probably a solid second. Just a lot of really good back and forth. Lots of good selling by Shinsuke for his knee. At one point, he tried to go for a Kinshasa, but the knee gave out on him. That was pretty good. In the end, though, AJ hit a phenomenal forearm and a Styles Clash on Shinsuke to get the win, 2-0 in my predictions. And yeah, AJ got a chance to soak in the crowd for what could potentially be the final time on North American soil. Which now brings us to our main event for the evening, the Fatal 4-Way to determine the number one contender for Drew's championship at the Royal Rumble. Orton, Priest, Williams, and Zayn. Zayn, of course, getting the big hometown reaction with them being in Montreal. I love Trick really got to show up and show out in this matchup, picking his spots as a good heel does, picking his spots when he needed to, and just being a, cheating, I wouldn't say cheating SOB, but being an opportunistic SOB. Everyone really got a chance to shine. Priest got to hit all of his stuff, Razor's Edge, South of Heaven. Orton got to do the Draping DDT, Power Slam, really good RKO, and also his back suplex onto the table. Everybody got that. Trick got that multiple times in the matchup, which was insane because always that happens, Orton doesn't clear off the table. Like the cover is still on the table. So every time I see that, I'm like, oh, someone's going to get like their back jacked up by one of like the TVs. Like the pointed corners are going to be like sticking up, and it's going to jack somebody's back whenever I see that. But that didn't happen. At one point in the matchup, Sami hit the haluva kick on Priest and went for the pin, but Williams pulled the ref out of the ring. That was a good spot. It seemed as though Orton was going to win it off of an RKO on the Sami, but Williams, again, inserting himself, pushed Randy out of the ring, tried to get the cover. Priest broke it up. In the end, though, it was Mr. Samizayn who hit another haluva kick onto Damienpriest and pinned him for the win. So it will be Drew McIntyre versus Samizayn at the Royal Rumble. But of course, afterwards, Drew coming in there to try and sneak attack Sami, but Sami was able to dodge and actually sent Drew out of the ring as he stood tall with all of the pyrotechnics going off at the end. And there you go. That is pretty much what happened on Saturday night's main event. It was a good show. This one thing that, always bugs me about, these premium shows from WWE is like, they are so light on action. Say what you will about the AEW shows, but you're going to get your money's worth when it comes to the action side of it anyway. Again, say what you will about, there being like 10 to 13 matches on the card. At least you're going to get some wrestling when you go to one of their shows. With WWE, it's ads plus a side of wrestling. And so, that's my one only complaint is like, do we really need all the ads? But, that's what, makes the world go round is, all the business stuff that happens. So, just gotta, take some on the chin sometimes. But it was a good show overall. Nothing too shocking. The main event was the only one that I got wrong because I said Orton was going to win it. Zayn won it. So 2-1 in my predictions on the night. But yeah, good show overall. And I'm excited to see what happens at the Rumble. But until then, guys, be safe out there. And I will catch you guys next time.